There was no answer. I've not heard from him since the text I received at 8:11 on Saturday morning.
She's held hostage in Gaza and not dead on the street of the kibbutz where we grew up.
This family and my family is now missing.
This is heartbreaking. After several days of savage attacks from Hamas terrorists, many Americans in Israel are missing, while countless more are left with little option for escape.
Our next guest is helping to get U.S. citizens back home safe. He is the co-founder of Save Our Allies, Tim Kennedy. Tim, great to see you. Tell us what you're working on right now on the ground in Israel.
I mean, first and foremost, it's to get Americans home safe. We're doing everything that we can with ground teams. In some instances, you know, when you triage in a big disaster, if you can walk. We're trying to facilitate people to get themselves out of the country. And in some cases, people can't do that. You know, whether it's age or they're literally just strapped and clamped down with fear, and sometimes it's logistical constraints. So we have some amazing volunteers with Save Our Allies that are going to move these people to whatever the best way out of that country is to get them back home safe.
And so you said you have volunteers and you were involved in removing Americans out of Afghanistan who are trapped. How does this differ from what you did in Afghanistan versus what you're now doing in Israel with this attack from Hamas?
I mean, not to overly simplify, and I don't mean to be sympathetic, not sympathetic, you know, but there are so many pathetic similarities between you know, the Taliban and Hamas. They're heartless, they're evil. You know, they're just different birds, different feathers from the same bird. All the while, there are victims and civilians that are trapped by these terrorist organizations and American civilians that are trying to get out. You know, it's a race against the clock. There's definitely going to be more violence coming, and there are going to be fewer and fewer options to get people out of the country as the conflict gets a little bit more complex. So, you know, we are really in a race against the clock right now. As you know, Hezbollah is building on the border. We know there's an incredible number of terrorist cells that are prepared to do more violence, and we're trying to get these Americans home.
How much have those windows for exit closed just since Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. You have the vast majority of international flights by international carriers that have just stopped servicing, for example, Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. You know, you have by land movements where, and I don't want to get into the details of how we're moving people, because the last thing I want is bad actors to understand what we're trying to do. And there are a lot of bad actors. There are organizations, but most specifically, there are terrorist organizations that are looking for opportunities to capture and kidnap Americans. We know now how valuable an American is when you're releasing $6 billion in a prisoner exchange. Yeah. So, like, you got a price tag on top of every American's head. And you know, these guys that are on the ground, these men and women, they are truly the best and brightest in the world. And from my heart, I just want to say thank you guys for putting your lives on the line. You know, these are special operations, natural expeditionary professionals that are doing extractions to get these people safely back to the United States. But it's a race, and the number is insurmountable. I can't tell you how many. We do not have enough people right now to move the number of requests for evacuation.
You know, Tim, obviously, as you mentioned, you have skilled, well-trained volunteers who are willing to go in, risk their own lives to save Americans. But I have to imagine it takes resources as well to make sure this happens. If Americans want to help you in your effort to save Americans in Israel, how can they do that?
I mean, you can go to saveourallies.org. Going to Save Our Allies also has the link for a extraction or a form to fill out so we can find some biodata about you if you're trapped in Israel. If you have family members that are trapped there, you can go there. We're working. I hate to say it, the State Department yet again has dropped the ball in a really embarrassing way for the American people. But when it comes to immigration issues, you have to do things by, with, and through the State Department. And, you know, I wish there was some serious pressure on the State Department and Blinken for them to support this evacuation effort. This is going to cost American lives if we do not get ahead. And we are racing against the clock. We have to move people. And that's at saveourallies.org. You can fill out the movement form, or you can donate. But everybody here is a volunteer. Everybody's, man, I just love you guys. So thank you for helping us spread the word.
Everybody there is a badass. How about that?
That is also true. I'm humbled to be able to work with some amazing men and women.
Yeah.
Tim Kennedy, you're a great American. Thank you for all you do, and thanks for joining us on The Bottom Line, sharing part of your story. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey, thanks, Sean. Thanks.